to talk about a really niche topic that I don't see a lot of people talking about in religious deconstruction, but why do people hate the Pharisees?
First, I don't think anyone hates the Pharisees. Actually, I think we learn quite a bit from the Pharisees in Scripture of things not to do.
According to Jewish law and reading the Old Testament, the Pharisees did everything right.
So there's quite a bit to say about the Pharisees, and there's no way I'm going to be able to even discuss all of that in this short little video, but let me try to give you a little bit of an overview of who the Pharisees were. They were the influencers of their time. So whatever they did, whatever they taught, had a huge impact on the society around them, because they were what we would consider the influencers of their day. And they had a big following. The other thing about the Pharisees is they were known for preaching the scriptures, but not living the scriptures. They were all mouth, but no action. And my grandpa used to have a saying that actions speak louder than words. I still think it's true. They believed in the law that God gave Moses, which was kind of a twofold thing for them. They believed that the law of Moses gave them the written law, which were the prophets and the teachings of the prophets, but they also believed in the oral law, which were the traditions of the Jewish people. They try to take this and kind of harmonize it with the teachings of Scripture to their own ideas, their own suggestions of how the law should have been lived. And then they put those own ideas into their teaching. They often took their ideas to Scripture to try to find support for what they wanted. This is never a good idea when reading anything, Scripture or not Scripture. This is why context is key. And part of reading in context in general is not doing what they did. One of the key principles in reading in context is to go to the text with an open mind and not with this attitude of trying to find confirmation for your own ideas. Instead of adapting the text to match your perception, we allow ourselves to adapt and understand the text as it was intended.
I always hear in Christianity people say, well, the Pharisees' sin was because they didn't recognize Jesus as God.
The issue with the Pharisees not recognizing Jesus as God was rooted in their ignorance. They projected an image of superior knowledge and authority. They were the elite of their time. I guess we would consider it more like a PhD today. Despite their claim to be experts at understanding Scripture, they failed to recognize Jesus for who he was because they had a heart issue. They thought they were better than everyone else, yet despite their expertise, they completely failed recognizing the Messiah. This is why Jesus repeatedly referred back to the Old Testament, because he wanted them to understand that what they thought they knew, they actually didn't. He was demonstrating to them how their profound knowledge of Scripture was, in reality, superficial.
Yeah, no shit. See, the God that they were following and the God that they were worshiping flooded the entire earth for not believing in him.
Okay, she is completely wrong here. God did not flood the earth because people didn't believe him. Actually, I'm going to read you exactly what he says. It says in Genesis 6:5, when the Lord saw that the wickedness was widespread on the earth, and that every scheme his mind thought was nothing, talking about mankind, nothing but evil all the time, the Lord regretted that he had made man on earth, and he was grieved in his heart. So the reason that God flooded the earth was because of the wickedness of men. It had nothing to do with they believed him or didn't believe. He wouldn't take that. He wouldn't force anyone to believe in him.